Goldberg. I think Bill Goldberg lived up to all the expectations as far as being a guy that went out there and made those fans believe. That's the one thing about wrestling. You got to make the fans feel something. And I don't think anybody did it better than Bill Goldberg.
You know what's funny, Buck? I go back and I think about, early Bill Goldberg, like right, while he was training at the power plant. And it was like, okay, let's bring him, to a TV taping or a live, Nitro. And let's just put him out there in a dark match. Let's put him out in front of the crowd without under the pressure of any television cameras and just let him get a little bit of experience and get used to working in front of people instead of just in a warehouse setting. And like the first couple times he went out, it was like the crowd was just reacting to him. He had so much energy and intensity that I think all of us that were kind of watching to see how Bill was going to progress, after the second or third night of that, we looked at each other and went, okay, well, whatever plan we thought we had for him, throw it out the window because we got a whole new plan.
How did Goldberg take that first discussion about, the streak's going to come to a close and it's going to be Kevin Nash? What was that first conversation?
I wasn't actually involved in the first couple of conversations about it. I didn't get involved until later on. So I can't tell you what his initial reaction was. But my impression, especially kind of looking back, I think Bill was a little bit relieved. I think Bill kind of sensed that it was, okay, it's time. I've got to take that next big step. And he knew that the streak was going to come to an end. So I think he was ready for it. He might not have liked the way it went down. He may have had creative issues, but they didn't get to me.
Do you remember what was the word like, Book, in the locker room after it happened? Like, do you recall the conversations around Bret getting hurt? Because obviously he's a big money guy. He was a big deal in the company at that point.
Well, the one thing, back then it wasn't a whole lot of talk about it. Of course, the talk came later, years later, as far as the way Bret really felt about Goldberg. But I can honestly say this. I know Goldberg personally. I consider Goldberg a friend, and I don't think Goldberg did anything out of malice to hurt Bret Hart. One thing I can say about this business is happens, okay? And that's just part of it. And you can't look at it and say, anything other than that's the business. I feel for Bret. I feel for him to the bottom of my heart, but I do not think Goldberg did that on purpose. Goldberg was intense, highly intense, and I think that was the consequences.
I think it brings to the forefront, too, how important trust is in this business when you're getting in the ring, right? And I'm just basing this on watching the doc and hearing from Bret. I don't know that he ever trusted Goldberg in that ring.
And that's where I just want to say on behalf of Bret, and I am the world's biggest Bret Hart fan, Bret took that craft incredibly seriously. We all know that. Bret is very, very serious about pro wrestling.
Why he's a GOAT.
And he always he felt he was trusted by his competitors.
But think about this statement one second, and Bret's a good friend of mine. But listening to the biography, Bret said to Goldberg, "Brother, don't hurt me." So he went into that match overcautious. And that right there could be the detriment of you going into a match. You just got to go in there thinking about, let's get the job done by any means necessary. Now, I'm not saying anything other than, there again, stuff happens, but it's just part of the game. That many years later, 12 years later, not ever expecting to ever step 1 foot inside the square circle ever again, realized how much those fans loved him. And when you feel something like that, when you're in that position, you feel like you got to get a broom and you just got to sweep it and clean it up. Everything that I did in the past, and that seems like what Goldberg is right now. He's cleaning up all the messes that he made in the past, all the stuff that he didn't feel like he cared about. He realized that he cared about so much, and now I got a second chance to do it. Not just got a second chance, but a second chance to do it in front of my wife, in front of my son. I think the culmination was great.
Yeah, and Booker, you know this. I've never been cheered ever in my life, so I don't know what that feels like. But I can imagine what it feels like to go out in front of 12 or 15 or 20 or whatever thousand people. That energy, that rush, that reaction that you get, especially I can imagine if you're getting cheered, is like no other feeling in the world that I can imagine. I mean, it's just, and that's why, I mean, it's like Guys want to continue. Why do the Rolling Stones go out and tour? Not because they need the money. They do it because of that connection to the audience and that energy that you get that you just can't get anywhere else. And I'm so happy for him that he got to experience that, especially in front of his wife and kid.
I mean, The Rock is the biggest movie star in the world, and he never rules out a return to the ring because he loves that feeling so much. He keeps coming back for more.
Want more WWE?
We're diving deeper into the stories you love with exclusive interviews. Plus, we've got legendary guests to help break it all down.
WWE Smack Talk.